What's going on, YouTube fam? What's going on? It's your boy, Mr. James Carrington, back at it again. How's everybody doing out there? Um, as we usually do on the show, before we get into the nitty gritty of the show, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and hit that like button, and hit that notification bell, and also any other information you need to get as far as the show is concerned. How to subscribe to the show on Facebook, and also the audio version podcast. That's the information in the banner on the background. So I'm gonna give you guys 60 seconds to go ahead and do all that, take down all that information, and also hit the subscribe button. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys 60 seconds to do that. All right. And while you guys are doing that, let me just ask how everybody is doing. How was your week? I hope it was productive. Mine was okay. I'm a little tired, but thank God it's Friday. All right. Well, if you just hit the subscribe button, thank you for doing that. And when the episode is over, please don't forget to share the episode with friends and family and loved ones who might not know about the show, okay? We're slowly growing the channel here. So for those of you who are already subscribed, I really want you to know that I appreciate you. Thank you for what you've done. All right, so let's get into it. Earlier today, I was listening to I was watching another podcast by a gentleman. Well, the name of the podcast is, what is the name of his podcast? Something Uhuru. Where is it? Oh God, where is that? Of course, can never find something when you're looking for it, right? Hmm, that's strange. I think the name of his podcast is called The Search for Uhuru. Yeah, The Search for Uhuru. That is the name of the podcast. Yeah, he's a brother. He's a brother. One of these Pan Africanist brothers, pro Pan Africanist brothers, and he does some really good work. I've watched a couple of his videos, and he travels all over Africa, mostly West Africa, and he's really highlighting the continent in a positive light. Um, but today his show went live, and I was watching it for a little bit, and the topic for today on his show was Jordan Peterson. Africa is not poor because of colonization. So, for those of you who don't know who Jordan Peterson is, I think Jordan Peterson is a gentleman. I think he's Canadian. I think, but I think he's a clinical psychologist or something, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's some kind of psychologist, and he was an everyday psychologist. Just I guess doing his practice up there in Canada. But then I guess at some point last year he made a comment on YouTube or something, and he blew up. The comment went viral, and now people started paying attention, and now he's now a YouTube celebrity. Okay, he has a lot of followers. I've watched some of his videos, and so him and this African lady, he had a guest on his show. It was this African lady that was and they were talking about Africa. And I guess from all indications, I guess Dr. Jordan Peterson is a conservative. If he were American, if he was American, he would be a conservative. He has more conservative leanings because he's almost like he's most of his talking points are more skewed towards conservative ideologies, and so he had this African lady on his show, and they were talking about Africa, and the topic on his show was Africa is not poor because of colonization, right? Africa is not poor as a result of being colonized by all these European countries. Okay, so him and the lady were talking about it, and the brother did a reaction video to that video. So I'm about to do a reaction video to the brother's video, which was a reaction video to that video. I hope you guys are following me. All right. So, and it's interesting because, so again, let's unpack this for a minute, right? Africa is not poor because of colonization. Well, that statement is not 100% true. Okay? It's not 100% false, but it's not 100% true either. Okay? Because everything that African countries are going through right now, or most African countries are going through right now, especially economically deprived African nations. And I think I did a show a couple weeks ago where I was that was the show with that I did about with Dr. Louis Farrakhan, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, when I said he was blasting African leaders because of their incompetence. I alluded to this, and I told you guys that when Europeans decided to leave the continent for good, they still made sure that they put in place systems that would benefit them even while they were off the continent. You understand? So just because African countries gained independence or started to gain independence, being led by Ghana in 1957, that doesn't mean that, yeah, we may have gained independence in the sense that we were now allowed to govern ourselves, but we did not gain financial independence from our former colonial masters. And I mean, this is not a secret. Everybody knows this. Okay? France has its colonies paying money to them, to France, something to the tune of over $1 billion every year. And for what? I have no idea. So you ask yourself, why would an impoverished nation like Mali have to pay money to France? That's like someone driving a Rolls Royce, okay, and they get on the highway and there are panhandlers, and as they drive past each panhandler, they're taking their hands and putting it into the panhandler's coin jar and collecting whatever money the panhandler has been able to acquire during the day. It makes no sense at all. But you see, this is one of the things that they made sure they put in place. Okay, and the things that European nations put in place so that it would make or enable African nations to still be tied to them economically, or to make sure that the umbilical cord of colonialism was not entirely or fully cut. They were mostly economic in nature, you understand? And so, when I heard Brother Uhuru say that, he agreed with the statements that Jordan Peterson and this African lady, he agreed that, yeah, Africa is not poor because of colonialism or colonization. I must say I was a little bit disappointed in hearing that. Okay, because I think that he should have done a better job of saying that, it's partly true, but it's not all the way true. Okay. And if you want to basically, or if you ask me, where's the evidence that Africa is poor as a result of being colonized? Well, I have a video to show you right now. And so I came across this video. It's funny, I came across it today too, and I was like, wow, Brother Uhuru's show was on today. And I came across this video today. So we're going to watch the video. Fair use. It is from the financial business magazine. What is it? Business Insider. So let's go to YouTube and the backdrop of this video is they're using Ghana, okay, as the backdrop for this video. Okay, they're using Ghana as the backdrop for this video. So as you can see, the title says, Ghana grows our cocoa, so why can't it make chocolate? It's a very simple question. Very simple question, right? Very simple. So let us delve into the video and let us see why Ghana cannot make its own chocolate, even though it grows cocoa.
Ghana is the world's second biggest producer of cocoa, but the country only earns about 2% of the $100 billion industry. Cocoa growers here export most of their cocoa beans to Europe and North America, where they're turned into chocolate.
We are shipping out the cocoa in its raw state. And if you look at the value chain of cocoa, money is made in the finished product.
While big chocolate companies rake in billions a year, many cocoa farmers live in poverty, earning just $2 a day. And Ghanaian entrepreneurs...
Now, my grandpappy owned cocoa farms. He had about 4 of them. So when we were growing up, I never went to any of the farms. I wish I did. But there was actually one guy who used to work one of the farms for my grandfather. And every now and then he'd come to the house and he would ask my grandfather if he could take me out to one of the farms. But this dude had a look in his eyes that I didn't trust. Okay? This dude looked like if I ever went to the farm with him, I would disappear and they would never find me again. There was just something about the look in his eyes that I didn't trust. So I always used to say, even if my grandfather said, hey, you know what, James, go with this man and go see how the cocoa beans is cultivated and all that, I would have been like, hell no, I ain't going with this mofo right here. I don't trust him. Look at his eyes. He got cat eyes. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. Let's go back to the video.
Like Michael have struggled to open chocolate factories in their home country.
We are trying to decolonize chocolate. At this time around, we are saying that it can be done right here in Ghana.
Now, the government is funding efforts to grow a domestic chocolate industry. But can Ghana's entrepreneurs get a bigger share of the profits? We visit a cocoa farm and processing plant to find out. Ghana, together with Ivory Coast, grows over 60% of the world's cocoa. The country...
Now, let that sink in for a minute. Let that sink in for a minute. 2 countries. 2 countries in the world produce 60% of the entire cocoa for the world. 2. Okay? Let that sink in for a minute. When you go to your CVS pharmacies or Rite Aid or, wherever, your grocery store, and you're waiting in line and you see a chocolate bar, a Hershey's bar. My kids love Hershey's bars. They're always asking for it. And you buy that, chances are there is a 60% chance that you're eating a finished product whose raw materials came from either one of these two countries. That's a lot. Do you know how much chocolate or cocoa product, hot chocolate and stuff like that, do you know how much of that stuff is consumed in the world? And two countries produce 60% of that? I mean, we're talking billions here. Billions. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out in case you didn't catch that.
Factories sell to all the big chocolate companies, from Hershey's to Mars to Nestle, which process the beans abroad in mostly Europe and North America.
Pacho, your friend Joseph Bacha, I cocoa farming for 18 years ago.
So this guy here is a typical Ghanaian cocoa farmer, and you can see the cocoa plant behind him, and that's what they look like, obviously. We had one in our house when we were growing up, just a single cocoa plant in our house, and I think my grandfather planted that there just, for ish and giggles. But you see behind him is the sprawling farm, right? And it's just filled with cocoa trees. Okay, so that would be a typical cocoa plantation right there. Okay, my grandfather had 4 of them. 4. Okay, they're still there. They're still in our family. But we'll talk about that at another on another episode.
Joseph grows 11 acres of cocoa, and it isn't easy. Farmers battle more extreme weather due to climate change, plant disease, and fatigued land. Every October, he and his family begin harvesting the yellow pods. It takes just 4 days.
This is hard work. This is some hard work, okay? And you just imagine you're doing this in the African heat. It's in October. It's not like in July or August, where it's a little bit cooler. This is in October. It's hot. Okay? This is some very hard work. And you see, the process is not mechanized. They're doing it manually.
Se mi tin so a mi twa ben duano. Mi twa ben duano pe na kire se me pra duano. But mi twa ben cocoa nu kakra chen duano na boduano ho ban. Mi koto mi sorry yeti pains e wo djuma no mu pa.
Joseph collects the pods and takes them to the breaking ground. Here, workers crack them open and remove the beans by hand. Joseph uses the leftover pods as compost under his trees.
Ye boy we are ye set ahabai na ye bu ewo ahabai no.
And when we were growing up, sorry I keep interjecting if you're enjoying the video too much, but I have to interject. Again, I grew up around the cocoa plant, so so when we were growing up as kids, you see how they were hacking into the cocoa plant with the machete. So you break it open and you could just eat. Well, you wouldn't eat the seeds, but you could. You see how it looked like the entrails of an animal or something, right? Well, it was very sweet. Okay, you could eat that. So you would just take it out, lick it off, and it had a very good taste to it. You could eat it raw like that and then just discard the seeds after that. So we used to do that all the time because, like I said earlier, we had one tree growing in the house, in the middle of the house, just one. And when it was, come October or whenever it was a harvest season, it would bloom and blossom and all that stuff, and there'd be a couple pods. We would get a couple pods off of it and just crack them open and eat the beans, or eat the edible part of the beans. Especially when you see them being yellow like that, that means they were ripe and they were time to be plucked. Now, as far as the beans itself, you know what? Let me let the video play.
So na ya kata so kama
Joseph then dries the beans for another week. In total, he packs 75 bags of beans a year. His income is about 20.
You guys saw the beans, right? The dried out beans. So when they would harvest the cocoa from my grandfather's farms, they would bring the beans, they would dry the beans partly or partially on the farms, and then maybe 80% through the process, they would bring it to the house. And so whenever you came to our house during harvest season, you would see all these dried out cocoa beans. And, every day we would have to spread them out on these sheets out in the sun for them to dry out. Okay.
$27 a day. It's a high wage for a Ghanaian farmer because Joseph grows organic cocoa without pesticides. But many farmers in Ghana live at or below the poverty line, earning less than $2 a day. That's because the majority of farms are small and aren't certified organic, according to Christy, a cocoa scholar nicknamed the Doc of Chalk.
We're talking about really small plots, and this is part of the reason why cocoa farmers are so poor.
But that's not the only reason farmers make so little.
Cocoa's been farmed in Ghana for over 100 years. There are many parts of the country where the land is really fatigued now, and the trees are old.
In the 15th and 16th centuries, Portugal and Spain monopolized cocoa, controlling production.
Now, this is the part that I really, really want you guys to pay attention to. Because this part that's coming up here for the next 3 minutes, okay, is a complete rebuttal. A complete rebuttal to the narrative that Africa is not poor as a result of colonialism. Okay? Now, when I started the episode, I told you, yes, Africa is poor, but it's not poor entirely because of colonialism. But colonialism, or colonization of Africa by Europeans, did play a major role in the reason why Africa is in the financial mess that it is today. It is one of many reasons. Colonialism being, or colonization being one of the first reasons, okay? Colonialism did nothing but exploit Africa as a continent. Europeans exploited Africa. Okay, and its legacy, the legacy of colonialism, exists or is still there. It can still be felt today. Not only can it still be felt today, well, yeah, it can be felt today. Okay, and this video right here that I'm showing you is a great example of a legacy, or one of the legacies of colonialism that continues to keep some African nations impoverished. And again, the disclaimer here is that I am not saying Africa is poor entirely because of colonialism. I am saying Africa is poor, or African nations, the reason why some African nations are impoverished is because of the legacy of colonialism. And that legacy is still being felt today. Okay, of course, that's why it's a legacy. Okay, and this video right here is proof of that. Let's continue. So pay attention.
Production and trade from their colonies in Latin America and the Gulf of Guinea. Europe's elite were the biggest customers. The crop arrived in what's now Ghana in 1876. Around the same time, the British declared the southern region a colony and began invading north.
It came in 1876, and around the same time, Britain declared Ghana a colony. Okay.
Locals own and ran all the small farms, but the raw product was exclusively exported to Europe.
A lot of what we know today as contemporary chocolate really grew out of this trading relationship between Ghana and Britain, including the flavor of chocolate itself.
Although you said trading relationship, that wasn't no trading relationship. That was more like, look here, man, you better give me your cocoa, or else you're gonna, I don't know what it is they threatened them with. But Ghana as a colony had no choice. Okay, your colonial masters came down there with guns and they said, you will trade with us. or we will shoot you. And this is what we demand from you in terms of trade. Cocoa, human beings, your brothers and sisters, and other items. And we'll give you some little trinkets in exchange for that. Okay? So when the lady says trade, oh, yeah, okay, is this really what you would call a trade? Are there any fair trade practices being practiced here? Anyway, so she says Ghana gained its independence in 1957. Yep.
Ghana gained its independence in 1957. Its one-way cocoa trade with Europe still exists today. And it's kept farmers at the beginning of the supply chain in poverty for generations. To help raise farmer wages, Ghana and its neighbor Ivory Coast teamed up in 2019.
The two large.
All right. So I'm going to stop the video here, but I wanted you guys to see that and see why I had a hard time accepting what Brother Uhuru had to say on his channel today. So for those of you who are interested in watching the rest of the video basically what it does is it see how it said in the end that Ghana and Ivory Coast decided to team up. They figured, you know what, let's get together and let's make more demands from the developing nations that we're exporting our cocoa beans to, and who have their kids drinking hot chocolate at night, in the Swiss Alps before they go skiing and all that stuff, while the people who are actually bearing the brunt of the work are living on less than $2 a day. You understand? And so this right here, Brother Uhuru, if you're watching this is a complete rebuttal to what Jordan Peterson and that lady was saying. Okay? If you ever needed a suitable example of how or why colonialism is one of the reasons why Africa is poor, this is it right here. This is it right here. Okay, so for those of you who are interested in watching some more of the video, again, it's the Business Insider channel, YouTube channel, and the title is Ghana Grows Our Cocoa, so why can't it make chocolate? And then it talks about the logistical challenges that are faced as a nation in producing our own chocolate and all that other stuff. So if you're interested, please go on there and go watch it. Okay, so as you guys know, I'm not gonna keep this long. I'm gonna end this here. And please, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe to it and like the video and share the video with loved ones and friends. And if you have any comments, leave them on YouTube, or if you want to reach me by WhatsApp, you saw the WhatsApp number in the beginning of the episode. Okay, so until you guys hear from me again, it's your boy Mr. James Carrington. Stay safe out there, don't do what I wouldn't do, and be kind to your fellow man. Okay, it's your boy, I'm out.